Hello, this is Marty Ettington. I'd like to tell you about my book titled Important Astronauts, Cosmonauts, and Other Spaceflight Personalities, which is Book 8 of the Living in Space series. This book is the 8th volume of the Living in Space series. Each volume focuses on one particular technology of living in space. This book covers the astronauts, cosmonauts, and other individuals who are responsible for some of the biggest space adventures to date. When I was a kid growing up in the 1960s, my friends and I were always listening to the latest news about the Mercury 7 and their latest adventures flying into space. As of 2020, less than 600 people have gone into space. These people have pioneered many different types of space activities and are responsible for many legends. In 1985, while working for Hewlett-Packard, I got myself transferred to work at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, for a couple of years. It was incredible for me because I got to see the manned Spaceflight Center up close, walk inside of space mock-ups, and meet many astronauts. In fact, it was David Wolf, who later became an astronaut, who took me up for rides in his Pitts Special Acrobatic plane where I got really sick, which convinced me to get my own pilot's license. I even applied for the astronaut corps but didn't make it. I also knew Julie Resnick, who was killed in the Challenger explosion. It was very impressive attending the Challenger public funeral where President Reagan spoke. As a lifelong space buff, I'm very happy to write this book series and introduce the key players here. In this book, we will profile those persons who have been the star players in man's exploration of space and who have made many major space contributions over the years. So, one of the first chapters is Space Leaders and Visionaries, which include Wernher von Braun, Korolev, President Kennedy's moon speech, and more recently, Elon Musk. The first men in space, of course, you have to mention Yuri Gagarin of the Soviet Union, Alan Shepard of the USA, and John Glenn of the USA. I've also included some of the X-15 pilots who actually went past the von Karman line into space. Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space from the Soviet Union, and then the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs, which included the Mercury 7 astronauts, the Gemini astronauts, and Apollo astronauts. In particular, the Apollo 11 flight, which had Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin in it, as well as Michael Collins. And of course, they made world history with their landing on the moon. Other well-known astronauts include Jim Lovell. And then we get into the Space Shuttle and Soyuz Mir era. And there we have some luminaries like John Young, Sally Ride, Bruce McCandless, Story Musgrave, Guy Bluford, and others. Then I would say that the next era was the ISS construction and space shuttle missions. And I mentioned some of the people I've met and other ones who've contributed to that. Lastly, we get into some of the astronauts who've flown in the latest spacecraft like the Virgin Galactic, SpaceX Dragon manned capsule, and then some private space flyers like Helen Sharman, the first British astronaut, Yang Liwei, the first Chinese taikonaut, Koichi Wakata, the first Japanese astronaut, and Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian astronaut. Overall, the book covers quite a number of people who've made history in spaceflight and had a real impact on it. You can find this book on my website, Mkettingtonbooks.com, under the Living in Space category. Thanks for listening.